Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had some interesting things to say after his arbitration hearing, and he spoke out about the whole process. He did reveal that he wants to be a Blue Jay for life, which is very encouraging if you're a fan of the team, but no progress has been made between the two sides. So we'll break that down on this episode of Jay's Digest, as well as Ricky Tiedemann. His injury was nothing serious. He should be back soon, so we'll update you on that and much more coming up next. Fans, I'm your host Peter Vryonis alongside host Nick Gosse. A bit of a later start today for the Toronto Blue Jays in Grapefruit League action. They're going to be taking on Garrett Cole and the New York Yankees at around 6:35. That's when first pitch is scheduled. Looking forward to that. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to have their A1 lineup out there today because it is going to be a road game for them, and we are going to see Alek Manoah pitch tomorrow, so I think they're going to save their better lineup for tomorrow, but it should be a good test against the reigning Cy Young winner of the American League in Garrett Cole, and probably the most consistent starting pitcher, so it'll be a good barometer to gauge where the Blue Jays are at this point in spring training, but a big talking point throughout the entire spring and just training camp in general has been Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and we knew about the arbitration process. We know that he filed at $19.9 million. The Blue Jays filed at $18 million, and ultimately he got the amount of money that he wanted, even after a down season, and maybe not deserving of that contract, but he got it. And now he's out to prove that he's still one of the league's best players. He's out to prove that he can be an MVP caliber player once again, and I believe he's going to do that. But Nick, he said he wants to be a Blue Jay for life, but there's still no contract agreement in place here beyond the next two seasons. So that's a little bit concerning to me. I don't know what the Blue Jays are waiting for. I don't know what Vladdy is waiting for, but there seems to be a bit of a stalemate here between the two sides.
Yeah, and this kind of came out all of a sudden from Hector Gomez, who usually is really good at reporting these things. Before we get into it, quick reminder, you guys have been killing it. We're on the road to 12,000, less than 300 away. So if you could do that, it would mean the world to us. Be a part of the 72.7% who aren't subscribed. But Peter, let's get into the first topic. Like you mentioned, he kind of reveals the truth on how the arbitration went. And ultimately, he said there are no hard feelings. This is exactly what he had to say translated. Quote, "I have no grudge against the Blue Jays, despite the tense negotiations I had with the team during the salary arbitration. It's just business." And this is the more interesting part, more important part. "I would like to be a Blue Jay for the rest of my career, but the team has not made me an offer." And we've kind of been discussing this throughout for a while now, since the channel really started, about a possible extension. And he wants to be a Blue Jay for life. That is the first time that he's come out and said that for sure. We kind of knew that, he seems happy as a Blue Jay, and he does want to be a Blue Jay for life. So I think ultimately, Peter, it will get done. But the team has not made him an offer, and I think part of that is because of the inconsistencies in his game from 2021 onwards. Obviously, he's a great hitter. We saw the 1,000 MVP caliber, 1,000 OPS MVP caliber season a couple years ago, but now it's been slowly decreasing. I do think he's going to bounce back this year, but maybe they didn't make an offer because they don't know what they have 100% in him, and they're not willing to give him 300 to 400 million.
Yeah, but I can counter that point with saying who's better than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that's going to be available on the open market or on the trade market. And this is a 25-year-old guy that is a homegrown star. You signed him when he was 16 years old for a record-breaking amount as an international free agent. And I just don't know if there's anything better out there than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that's going to be available to the Blue Jays. So I look at all those factors there. And I just think that this is the time now. This is the time for them to get something done. And maybe Vladdy is waiting for his play to jump up so he can earn himself an extra few dollars in free agency. But I don't know if this is a money-driven decision. I don't know if this is just a bet on yourself type of decision that is being made by Vladdy. I don't know what it is, but yeah, maybe the Jays are unsure about his inconsistencies and don't really know what they're going to get from him from year to year. But he's 25 years old, and he's a big part of this team, at least for the next two seasons, and hopefully beyond that if they get something done. But it's not easy to replace a talent like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and even in a down year, he's still more productive than most major league hitters. So that just tells you how talented he really is, and I think he's going to put it all together this year. We've been saying it for the past two off seasons, but I mean, he's too talented to just struggle and be inconsistent at the big league level. There was a reason why he was a top prospect. There was a reason why there was so much hype around him as a player. It's because he's that good, and he's got that ability in him. He's just got to put it all together, and it takes time. It's hard to be a very good hitter at the big league level, and we don't see guys really hit the ground running. We got to remember that he was 22 years old in his MVP caliber season. Like, that's big time production out of a 22-year-old. Don't look at Juan Soto as like the measuring stick for how a prospect should come in and dominate the majors. There's a reason why he's a generational hitter, and there's a reason why he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he decides to hang up the cleats. He's that good. But I believe Vladdy is not too far off from that same talent level, and he can put together a similar season as Juan Soto. So I think the Blue Jays got to stop messing around and just give him the money, because there's not much better out there, and you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Yeah, and I think this season Vladimir's going to step up, and who knows if he'll ever get back to the 2021 and his 2021 self. But we've seen he's made the commitment to his body, his health, and everything, and he looks as good as he's looked ever, at least regarding his physical health, and he's hitting the ball well in spring training as well. So I mean, that's a benefit to it too. But I think ultimately we probably won't see an extension done until maybe the end of the season, maybe in the next off season. I can't imagine it gets done before the season now, Peter, just given the fact that they've yet to even make an offer, which is a bit unfortunate. But I tend to agree with what you said there. I mean, you're not going to get much better. You don't want to lose a guy like this and then go and see him become a perennial MVP candidate and hit 50 home runs. He's 25 years old, and he had to adjust. He had a lot of things. He was asked to carry a Toronto Blue Jays team. So, I mean, I agree. And, any quick final thoughts before we move on?
I just think you got to stop yo-yoing this whole thing around if you're the Blue Jays front office. Like, I think enough time has passed now, and I know he's had his down seasons. Maybe he's waiting. Maybe he's the one that doesn't want to sign that deal because he knows he can have better numbers, and he knows that he can up his value with a very good year this year. But at the same time, like, I think it's beneficial for both sides to get something done here and just keep moving forward, because you don't want to go through this same arbitration process year in, year out. It's been 2 years in a row now that they've done this with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Obviously, they didn't have to go to an arbitrator last season, but you had to do it this year. And I'm sure the way that things are going between these two sides, it might have to happen again in the next offseason, and I'd rather just avoid that altogether. Look what the Jays did with Bo Bichette. They locked up the remaining 3 years of his arbitration, so they don't have to go through that. I believe a Bo Bichette contract extension is very likely just because of what happened over there. But Vladdy, I'm not so sure that the Jays are ready to pull the trigger on that, but they should. These are two cornerstone guys that are learning how to win at the big league level, and they've been tasked with taking this organization to heights that they haven't experienced since 2015, and I just don't know if they were ready for that yet, but I think they're headed in that direction.
Yeah, I think so as well. The Bo point is good. I think they're more likely to extend Bo first than Vladdy, but a very big update there. Let us know what your thoughts are on that. And then quickly now, before we wrap up, we have some major injury updates. A couple of these came out a couple days ago. One literally came out about 30 minutes ago as of the time of recording here. So this was on February 28th, which was 2 days ago, from Keegan Matheson. So from Biggio's side, he's hitting regularly off a machine now and is progressing well. That one still doesn't sound too worrying. And then Ricky Tiedemann is playing catch again today as he deals with that hamstring. And then we had a new update from Keegan 17 minutes ago as of recording, saying the good news on the Jays prospect is that he's feeling good after throwing yesterday, and it sounds like the next step is facing live hitters. This should leave him plenty of time for a full ramp up. Peter, this is very big news. Very good news, I should say. He didn't have any setbacks regarding his throwing. He's going to ramp up, and it won't affect and delay him too much according to everything. Obviously, there's still a chance he has another delay or hold up if something and he feels something, but it looks like we avoided any major injury and honestly avoided any major hiccup and slowdown in his spring training process.
Yeah, it's still not ideal, though, because you want to see him facing those teams and just in-game action. It's different facing live hitters that are in your organization as opposed to guys on other teams. So I think this does set back Ricky Tiedemann a little bit. Luckily, it is nothing serious, and it's nothing related to his throwing arm, his left arm. So that's the silver lining that we could take out of this. But I think it delays maybe seeing Ricky Tiedemann in a Blue Jay uniform this year. I'm sure he was slated to maybe come up around the All-Star break and help out in the back end of that bullpen at the very worst. But now it's looking like it's probably going to have to wait a little bit longer because they have to ramp up his innings and they have to make sure that he's healthy and he could string together a few good starts in the minor leagues before really pulling the trigger and calling him up. So I think it does delay. It is good that it's nothing serious in terms of his injury and his throwing arm. But it sucks that we didn't get to see him in the opening spring training game because we were all looking forward to that. And hopefully we could see him a couple of times before spring training is done. And he can make an impact at the big league level sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. And we really won't know until he starts to face. Hopefully, he will be able to face some of these teams, but they're going to play it very, very carefully. But that will wrap it up. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on all this news. There's a lot of good stuff happening. And Peter, it's March now, so we're officially in the month where the first regular season game is going to happen towards the tail end of it. So if you're excited for that, let us know down in the comments below. If you want to check out our video from yesterday, click on your screen now, and we'll see you tomorrow.